Hey, MBA hopefuls, we're live on the air with MBA Waves, your weekly vidcast talking all things business and education, streaming live every Tuesday on LinkedIn, Facebook, and YouTube. Today we'll be talking to Texas McCombs. I'm very excited to have this school on today. We're going to get into what makes the school fantastic. And we have with us three guests. We have Rodrigo, aka Digo, Malta, who is the managing director of recruitment and admissions at Texas McCombs, along with two fantastic second-year students, Maddie Reynolds and Sanjeev Venkatachalam. I probably pronounced that wrong. Please forgive me. How are you guys doing today?
Great.
Doing awesome.
How are you?
Yeah.
Welcome to the show. So let's just jump right into it. What is new and exciting at Texas McCombs these days? Rodrigo, let's just start us off because you're the staff.
Yeah, so I'll be looking for Maddie and Sanjeev to add some color in what's happening with them right now in their second fall semester with us. But something that we're really excited about here at Texas McCombs are our global offerings. So as we came back from COVID, the focus early on was really community building, reintroducing traditions to our students. You know, we opened a brand new, really awesome building recently that we didn't get to fully utilized with COVID, though it was great to have that tech infrastructure to deliver on our hybrid classes. But now that we are settled into our new old routine, we have really turned the corner with international travel being possible. We're focusing on our global offerings for our students. And the goal for us here at Texas McCombs is the development of globally minded leaders who are really prepared for the future of work. So an interesting fact that always impresses me is, you know, in a class of about 240 students, roughly, more than 80% of our full-time MBA students go abroad during their 2 years. And I often use myself as an example when it comes to global offerings. I'm originally from Brazil. And during my 2-year MBA program at Texas McCombs, I visited all 4 BRIC countries. So I went to Brazil, Russia, China, and India, which was really cool. I feel like Brazil was an easy one since I'm from there, but I'll take it anyway. But in really focusing on our global offerings, you know, we are looking at destinations, of course, program types. So here at Texas McCombs, students have an opportunity to go into a global connection study tour that happens around spring break for 10 to 12 days. That is the most popular program that we offer. And one of the exciting things about the Global Connection Study Tour is there are several destinations that our students can select from, but also there are topical themes to the destinations. Some examples would be energy in Latin America, for example, or social entrepreneurship in Kenya or Bali. So the locations are always kind of really exciting, and I really like the industry functional theme that goes along with it. For other students, some of our STEP programs are more interesting, so short-term exchange programs that happen usually at the end of each semester. And these STEP programs are really done in conjunction with kind of either a partner organization or a partner school. So an example of this is a program that we deliver in Germany that's more around transportation, the automobile industry. And then we have the more standard full, kind of broad, full semester exchange programs with partners institutions. Some are the most popular partner institutions that we have programs with include London Business School, HEC in Paris, ESADE in Barcelona, etc. So lots to choose from, but really reactivating and putting this back in our students' radar. And I think making the destinations really interesting with the functional, interesting bent is really awesome as well. So I feel like I just talked a lot. So maybe I'll throw it over to Maddie and Sanjeev to talk about what's going on with them right now.
Yeah, Maddie, why don't you let us know what you're thinking?
Yeah, so definitely true. And just to dovetail on that, I went to South Korea last year for Business and Society, which was pretty fantastic. So definitely we'll be looking for more this spring. I think, you know, just across the board, at least from my perspective, one of the things I love about the opportunities at McCombs are a lot of the networking and speaker events that we have across different student organizations and things to that extent. I know upcoming one that's pretty exciting that I'm hoping to attend is the one hosted by our Business of Sports Summit. So they are actually going to have the former CEO and current chairman of ESPN come and be the keynote speaker. So just really great opportunities to be able to network again and hear different perspectives from different types of industries and different spaces within the business sector. So just one piece that I'm excited about. I don't know about you, Sanjeev.
Yeah, kind of adding to what Diego was talking about, I was actually on the short-term exchange program to Germany this year, and it was an incredible experience getting kind of a behind-the-scenes look at what car companies are thinking about the future of mobility. So we got to spend 2 weeks kind of going to every single one of the top 5 companies in that industry, and it was really fascinating to kind of to get their take on how different Europe is approaching that same problem that the US is. So that's been a really cool experience. Other than that, a couple of things that I'm really looking forward to this semester. We host this event on campus called Storytelling that the consortium students host, which has been an incredible event. And it really talks a lot about the program that we have here at McCombs. It's for students to come and basically share their life story. And that's usually like a full crowd of students that are in there listening to everyone's experience. And it gets very personal, sometimes very emotional, but it kind of allows you to be vulnerable in this space. And it really talks about how big family is to this program. And that was one of the biggest learnings for me when I was applying here, because my wife is actually also in the program. We're getting to do this experience together. So getting to go through this with my wife and kind of like learning and sharing with other people with their experience has been absolutely life-changing. So some of the cool things to look forward to for us for sure.
Wow, from Rodrigo's perspective, I know what that's like. It's like double or nothing. Like you're getting the husband and wife team where neither of them often the case. But how was that for you? That's super interesting. I mean, first of all, the storytelling piece and how that central that is. I mean, you're doing that. You're second year students, as I understand. But did you do that at the beginning of your first year, or?
Yeah. So first years are also invited to come and share their stories. And so recently for the last event we had actually yesterday, one of the first years, he just started like 3 weeks ago, and he's there up there sharing his story with the rest of our class. And everyone gets really warm reception after that, just to kind of let everyone know that it's a safe space to be able to share their experiences, because people have come through, everyone has their own life and everyone has their own journey. So to be able to come and share that and be vulnerable in front of so many other sometimes unknown people in the program, I think really builds chemistry and camaraderie as we go through it. So we're open to sharing that with everyone. And so everyone is encouraged to do that for sure.
I mean, is it scary you're sharing all that stuff in front of the 200 other people or your own wife?
It's close. I'll tell you that. It's very close. It's close.
So besides that, like speaking about the MBA specifically, what are some of the standout unique features of the McCombs MBA?
I can start off. Yeah, I can start off. Yeah, for sure. I think one of the biggest things that I learned in my first year, one of the opportunities that I was able to take up was the McCombs Plus program that we have, which is really, I think, transformational in a couple of ways. One, because we get offered that opportunity as soon as we're on campus to work with companies to solve real life problems. And it's a really cool opportunity because we are really tied into the Austin community through the program. And I feel like a lot of cool things come out of Austin. And so us being here is a very strategic position in that sense, because everyone is looking for insights from business sense, and having students work on it is kind of just a great experience for us as well. So it's win-win. I was actually in consulting this summer. And so for me, I used the McCombs Plus as an opportunity to test out if consulting was what I wanted to do. And I got to work with a consulting company, kind of work on a project that they had. And it was an incredible experience. And that kind of was a double check for me before I started applying for jobs and actually going to recruit for consulting. So I think that's a really cool opportunity for people to try it in a sense of a little bit of a less stressed environment, where you get to have that opportunity to explore if that's really what you want to focus your attention on. But having said that, we also have the opportunity to kind of pivot as we go through. And I think the program does a really good job of offering us as many opportunities as we can to expose ourselves to different things.
Awesome.
Yeah, I think to add to that from my perspective, I know one of the unique things that actually Sanjeev and I are both involved with is our fellows program. So the opportunity to, take a deeper dive into a functional area. We're both part of the operations fellows group on campus and serve as part of the executive board for that group. And it's just a really incredible way to get hands-on experience working on different case problems within, in our case, the operations setting, really understanding what that means within different industries, different functional areas, everything from logistics and manufacturing to, people operations from that perspective, and everything in between. So being able to do that, be part of, and even, even more like-minded crew on campus, and really deep dive into that functional area has been super, super beneficial and super incredible.
And I think I'll just throw in one of the things that I think is really exciting about our program, and something that we take great care of, is to attract and bring in a really diverse class. So individuals from different personal stories, different backgrounds, personal and professional, academic backgrounds, but we quickly provide all of our students with that solid core business foundation during a very intense yet transformative first semester. But then we quickly pivot to a program that is highly customizable and flexible. So we have hundreds of electives, over 20 concentrations. The majority of them are STEM certified. We have classes at McCombs and then outside of McCombs. And, Sanjeev touched a little bit on this. The city of Austin is really unique in opportunities through the fellows programs that Maddie mentioned as well, to go out into the business community and be immersed in that space. That's really exciting, all the while learning in a really strong research university. So we're not only disseminating knowledge, but our professors are really creating knowledge that's transforming business, and our students really have a front seat for that in the classroom, which is really great to see. And the professors are really engaging, which is cool too.
Awesome.
That's so amazing to hear. So I can sense excitement, and what caught my eye now is how they all spoke about the storytelling first and how people are connecting. And those of us in the MBA world always talk about the right fit. There are so many fantastic programs out there like yours, but there's always something unique about it. And I can already see through the storytelling and, of course, the other immersion programs that you were talking about. So tell us more about the culture at McCombs. What is it really like?
Yeah, I'm happy to kick that one off, actually. So something that I always actually recommend to prospective students is to ask the question of what the dynamic is like when you're applying as a student to the same job as another student. I think it really gets at the core of, what a program is all about. And here at McCombs in particular, the buzzword collaboration definitely comes up and is definitely true and representative. But I think in the question of, what's that dynamic like, it's representative of the fact that we are truly collaborative, right? Anytime I was applying to an internship, to a role, both on and off campus, I know for other students as well, I was sharing notes, talking about what that interview was like, who you interviewed with. It's really just something that happens very naturally, right? There's this, behind the scenes opportunity that you have to share that information to the larger student population, but it happens in a really organic and natural way. And I know that that's true for a lot of the functional areas, that you can apply to, even things like investment banking and consulting, which tend to be a little bit more sharp-elbowed from an outside perspective, but certainly is not true on the inside of McCombs for sure.
Yeah, and adding on to that, I think one of the biggest things for me was the kind of family environment that we have at McCombs. Like the first weekend that I came here, Digo and I actually ran the 5K, the Longhorn Run together, and it was an incredible experience, right? And so we made a connection right there, like as we were struggling to get through the finish line at the end, Digo, if you remember, up that hill.
Yep.
But
I have a picture.
But that's the kind of experience that it is. And it's so like every conversation that we're having with other students and even members of staff, it's about what we're doing outside of class, what we're doing on a day-to-day basis with our friends and family. So I think family is a big word that comes up in mind for me specifically when I talk about the program specifically. And then connecting with first years as well, like that's a lot of excitement for us now as second years. It's kind of weird to say because we're only a few months into it, but like we can remember all that we went through as first years, and for us to be able to take that learning and pass that on and give the most relevant industry information to our first years as they're looking to get into similar roles that we took up last year, I think is very fulfilling in that sense. So to me, it's kind of just a full circle, and our program is small enough where when we're crossing each other in the hallways, like the building is also structured in a way that it forces us to like run into each other. And that's a really cool way, because sometimes you can get siloed in what you're doing just because you're very focused and committed in some certain aspects. But the building and the way it's structured, it focuses us to kind of get together and collaborate and learn from each other. And so the program office does a great job. I can't speak highly enough of the experience that we've had so far, but I think it's by design. So appreciate that aspect.
And in talking about culture, something kind of that resonates with me is the statement, leave the place better than you found it. So thinking about current students, but also students that have graduated and how passionate they are about McCombs and the place that we have here is something I think that's really unique, and people are willing to come back and give their time and really reinvest in a place that was transformative for them. We recently had our homecoming a couple weeks ago, and one of the exciting things that I saw alumni bring back new, which was our MBA Black Alumni Organization, is something that they launched and something that came to fruition because of our students and because of our alumni, driven to give back to the community overall, and something that's really exciting to see that you see in different pockets at different times. During the program, our students are many students thankfully help with the McCombs Ambassador Program, our McCombs Ambassador Committee, which really help us with recruiting, assessment, and kind of admissions, the admissions team, and everything that we do. So our students are very busy, but they take the time to give back, which is something that I find really awesome.
Lots of good answers there. Thank you. First of all, I think it's interesting how the environment of the space can really impact culture. And you were speaking, Sanjeev, about the building, how it kind of forces you to engage. I've heard of smart classrooms, but smart hallways, that's cool. And what you were speaking about, Diego, tradition, I think that's so important and so valuable. I mean, it creates a continuity that if you graduated last year or 25 years ago, often there's something you have in common. That really creates the fabric in the alumni community. Also, there's an advantage worth mentioning about choosing the typical American MBA program, which is 2 years versus most of the Europeans, which are only 1, where you have that passing on tradition. You're engaging for a full year very regularly, I assume, with the first-year students. So all that's very interesting. I want to pivot over to admissions, if that's all right. Some maybe a little bit less sexy stuff, but still very relevant to our listeners. Many of our audience today are thinking about applying to your program. So what should they expect? What are some of the suggestions you'd like to offer in terms of being a great applicant for Texas McCombs?
Yeah, and admissions is exciting, Eric. Come on. So I'll kick us off. I'll kick us off, and then I'll ask both Maddie and Sanjeev to maybe share some tips that they use near the process, or maybe that they have heard from others. But a couple things kind of to step back. I oversee admissions into 5 MBA programs, and really excited that all MBA programs have the same application requirements and components. And something that our team is even more excited about is that all applicants to Texas McCombs, no matter which MBA they are applying to, have access to all of our application components. So that does mean the cover letter, video assessment, and the interview. So we do not have a triage process where kind of a lot of full-time MBAs kind of have that triage process where you submit your application, there's an initial review, and a subset of those applicants will get invited for an interview. All of our applicants have access to all of our application components. And, with over 2,500 applications overall, it does take a village to bring that together. And we're really excited to deliver this. And the reason why is because we feel like it's really important for every applicant to have an opportunity to give us their full story. In thinking about, the story telling program that we have in place, individuals may be more comfortable in sharing their story kind of live, speaking to us directly. Maybe others are more comfortable in a video assessment. Others might be more comfortable in writing. So we want to make sure that we provide individuals a lot of different avenues to express why they want an MBA, why Texas McCombs, and give us their story as well. And I think as important as making all of these application components available is to let all applicants know that we're listening. So there are several individuals in our our admissions team that look at an application, touch an application, connect and engage with prospective students, from our admissions officers to application evaluations to our McCombs ambassador team. So we are listening, and we want to hear your story. So that's kind of the framework in which I want to touch on a few of the application components, and I'll do this at a very high level. I get really excited about admissions and I lose track of time. So I'm going to go really fast so we can go to tips. But we assess individuals' academic aptitude via academic transcripts and then tests that they may submit as part of the application. We do have a test waiver petition that applicants can submit ahead of the application if they wish not to submit the GMAT, GMAT Focus, GRE, EA, etc. We assess an applicant's professional trajectory by looking at their resume and letter recommendation. And really where the application comes together, it's about the applicant and about Texas McCombs via the cover letter, the video, and the interview. So that's kind of the buckets that we look into whenever we're evaluating an application. But I'll stop for a second because I'm a little thirsty, but I'll kick it over maybe to Maddie first to give a couple tips, and Sanjeev.
And Diego, we feel the excitement too. I'm so glad that we finished round 1 as of today, and we're passing on the baton to you.
Yes, we love it. We love it.
Don't you have a deadline today as well?
We have. Our deadline is today, which is exciting. So we've been getting applications. The wave. Speaking of waves, the wave kind of starts over the weekend and really crests today for round 1. So it's really great to see so many familiar faces and names that we've seen and interacted with on on-campus events, on the road, and seeing those applications come across. And can't wait to review them.
Yes, so MBA hopefuls out there in the universe, if you're listening, now's your chance to get some questions answered before you submit for today's deadline, right? Maddie, did you want to offer some tips from your experience, from your application journey? Or?
Yeah, absolutely. I think, we see, to Diego's point, many students that, come on campus or are met on the road. I think for me, while I didn't have the opportunity to visit the campus before applying to the school or even choosing to come to McCombs, I think for me, the most beneficial thing was talking to current students, right? Reaching out to people that either, were pursuing a similar path to what I was interested in, or perhaps came from a similar background, and really understanding and dissecting, why they chose McCombs, what the experience was like for them. The beauty of the program in part is we are a smaller program comparatively speaking. So it creates a really, intimate culture and really great dynamic across the board that we kind of touched on earlier too. And that definitely reigns true in terms of talking to current students as a prospective student. You get a really good feel for what life is like here, both, academically and professionally, and then also on the other side from a social perspective, because you are, you're committing a life here for 2 years for sure.
Absolutely.
Yeah, kind of building on top of that, I think connecting with the current students is obviously the best way to do it. I think one of the biggest learnings for me as I was doing my own application process, it's a very self-reflective process, right? Going through an application. So be yourself, do the research into the program, what it has, what it can offer you to help you meet your short and long-term goals. I think that would be the biggest piece of it. And I'm a big believer that this admissions process is a two-way street. Like, you have to see what you can get out of it, but you also have to see what the program has to offer you. So I think the best way to do that is by connecting with current students for sure. But, really being very personal in that process and making sure that the admissions team is aware of every single aspect of it. Like Diego pointed out, we have so many different avenues that you can relay that information to us. I think that's the great way to show exactly why you want to be here. And obviously we are trying to build a culture here as well. And so that goes a long way for us.
I think one other thing, if I can add a second thought, just as a tangential to what Sanjeev said, but I think the other piece too is really understanding how you can give back to the community, why it's a fit on both directions to what he mentioned, because, we are very, have a great office, obviously from admissions and MPO standpoint, but all the organizations and everything here are very heavy student run organizations, right? So being able to understand what that looks like and how that will fit into, why the program's a fit for you is definitely something that's beneficial too.
I'm curious. I have I have a question, actually.
Ah,
I
why
am
don't you do
curious
that?
for you all, Eric, Krithika, and Bara. What are your favorite application tips? I was just thinking about that because I always hear students and other admissions officers, but I'm curious kind of your favorite ones too.
Start
Well,
earlier.
go ahead.
Yeah, go ahead.
Start earlier than you think. Everything takes longer than you imagine. I mean, when you're going to do an MBA, you're stopping working, you're giving up a salary for a year or two, you're taking a reasonably sized risk, financially speaking, and hoping that at the end of the day that you're going to come out with a career boost and a job that makes you happy and makes you money. And so finding the right fit is so important. And it's a journey. It takes time to figure out all the great schools that are out there and find the one that makes the most sense for you in terms of what the school specializes in, and your learning style versus teaching style, culture, all that kind of stuff. So that's the biggest one, I'd say, for me.
Bara,
I'm
go for
afraid
it.
that I'm afraid my tech might not allow me to speak super clearly, but I want to just piggyback on what Sanjeev said about it being a back and forth, right? Like, you want to know that you're getting something out of the school, but the school, you want to know what can you give to the school, right? Givers gain. Like, what can you give back? How can you contribute? Like, Diego, you were talking about the new student association, the Black Student Association. It's like a group of people were like, oh, this is missing. We want to give this back. It's such a feeling, that dance between what you're taking, what you're giving, and that interplay that happens. So I don't know that it's specifically an admissions tip, but I think it's just applying to schools. What is the school going to, how is it going to enrich you? How are you going to transform? Who are you going to be? Who can you see being by being part of this? And likewise, how is the school going to be changed by you going there?
Yeah, to me, I love like what Sanjeev said and Mary said together, which is like the self-introspection bit and giving back, which Bara already touched upon. A lot of people shy away from the self-introspection because that's the hard part. And most of the times you see people parroting things from the website, from what they hear from the other students. But there's a moment where the deep self-introspection connects with what is actually out there. And that's the moment they actually transform into somebody who could belong in business school.
Mhm.
So that's what I really love, like how people are on this journey, and it's like everyone's telling them, okay, this happens and this happens and this happens, and suddenly it sinks in for them. So I would say that till the time you reach the point, follow the process, and keep doing what you're supposed to be doing, because I feel that the application process is like a trailer to what's going to happen in business school.
Totally. You're speaking about his authenticity, I think. And, one of the things that came up at the AGAC conference, which we all know each other through, was stay away from the blogs. I mean, admissions consultants and all the adcoms from all the top schools were saying the same thing. Like Reddit and all the blogs, they just get, there's lots of bad advice out there. And if you're kind of defining yourself by what you read from other people, you're not being your authentic self. And so that's a mismatch. But Diego, you said some critical things about the admissions process that I would love to get some clarification on. You mentioned about having every applicant for every one of the 5 MBAs would have access to all components of the application. So does that mean a formal interview is required, or it's an option?
So it's an option. But anybody can take advantage of the interview, and it's highly encouraged as well.
Yeah.
So I usually, if at all possible, would advise applicants to schedule the interview after the video assessment, because you can kind of do the video assessment, hopefully feel really good about the video assessment. But if you got a little bit nervous, let's say with the video assessment, you have an opportunity then to talk to a person and kind of close out the admissions process in a human-centered way, and maybe revisit that part of the application that you may have, could have said that a little more different. So interacting with a person, closing out the process with the interview is what my advice would be.
Sure. And the video assessment is required, right?
Correct. Yes.
Yeah. And for the interviews, is it 1, 2 people? Do you have like alumni doing it, current students? Is it a mix?
Yeah, so current students, so the McCombs Ambassador Committee does all of our interviews for the full-time MBA program. They're all virtual. So they're all student-led. Sorry, I have 3 dogs that are very loud right now.
That's the
That's
best
okay.
part. The dogs, the dogs, the dogs.
So they're
For those of
coming.
you who don't know, I'm very active in dog rescue, so I'm saying that.
Yeah, it
Apparently-
always works out this way when I'm in something that is live that they just want to participate. So they are
They
not
do.
interviewing. They are not interviewing our MBA candidates, but they sure wish they were. So
They
I think
know.
things
They
have calmed
know.
down a little bit. So, but I think you captured that, or you were able to hear. So the interviews are virtual, done by our first and second year students that we train here, and the virtual interviews last about 30 minutes, and it's again a two-way street, an opportunity for the applicant to answer a few questions, but then also to ask. Usually 2 to 3 questions is how much the applicant has time to ask during the virtual interview itself.
Awesome. Thank you for that. And I want to turn it over to Bara, who's going to ask you about testing.
Yeah, well, it's funny, Eric, because you were talking about like, oh, the application is so sexy. And I'm like, well, the GMAT, the GRE, and the EAR. So, you were saying before, but Rodrigo actually, it's a really interesting application process. And I thought it was super interesting that you asked for a waiver before people actually apply as compared to during the process. So I'm curious because my world is really all about the tests. How important are they? And with all the changes that are happening, how is the school looking at these changes? And what's going on with standardized tests? It's a big topic these days.
Yeah, no, happy to provide some clarification here. So first, let's start with the test that we do take. So we take the GMAT, we take the GMAT Focus, we take the GRE, the Executive Assessment, we take the TOEFL, and the IELTS. For English proficiency, those last 2, we do not take the Duolingo kind of exam. I've seen folks ask a few questions around it, but we don't. We take the TOEFL or the IELTS. We don't have a preference on the standardized test that you select to take. You can take one of each, and then in the application you let us know which one do you want us to use as part of the evaluation for your application. We do have that test waiver petition in place that happens before the application itself. So we want to decouple that from the application itself so that applicants can come in and know exactly what they need to submit the application. We didn't want any uncertainty around that. So they can submit the test waiver petition, kind of a short essay, transcripts and resume, and they submit that form online. We give them an answer back within 5 to 7 business days. Now, what I want to challenge every applicant to do is to think of the standardized tests, so the GMAT Focus, GRE, or EA, as an opportunity to differentiate themselves in a really crowded market, right? All top 20 MBA programs are on demand, lots of applications. How do you differentiate yourself? And that's probably the number one question that I get whenever I'm in panels. How do I make my application stand out? It's like a great way to make that happen is to submit a test score and have a strong test score, because it helps us get comfortable around your academic aptitude, specifically in the quant-related courses that you're going to be tackling in the MBA itself. It also provides the admissions committee an additional data point when we're evaluating scholarships. It's not to say that you need to have a test score to get a scholarship, but if you have a strong test score, it's going to differentiate, again, your application even more. And the last thing that I will say about standardized tests is for individuals that maybe have a little bit less of a quantitatively heavy background, either academically or professionally, the admissions committee is going to have questions about your academic aptitude around the quant-related courses in the MBA program. And a standardized test like the GMAT Focus, GRE, or EA is a great way to help the admissions committee answer that question. So kind of specifically for those individuals, it might be kind of something that is necessary even more so than kind of a key differentiator.
Thanks. That helps. What do you think about multiple test taking? Like what if a student keeps taking the test multiple times?
Yes. So I've been working in MBA admissions for like 15 years, and I haven't there's usually a difference in scores if you take it a couple times, so 1 or 2 times, like from the first to the second, maybe sometimes from the second to the third, if the applicant is preparing for the test in a different way. If you're preparing the exact same way, there's likely not going to be a huge difference in your test scores between the sittings, unless you had the flu one day or you were distracted because of something that was happening in your personal life. So I would say once you determine the test that you're going to take, plan to take it at least twice, maybe 3 times if you approach the test in a whole kind of different way. But I'll go back to a couple things. One, the exam is one piece of the application. We're looking at you holistically. That's why you have access to all of our application components. It can be a stressful place to be taking those nobody likes standardized tests.
What are you saying? What are you saying?
Well, I'll say like most people, I did a sweeping generalization. So most people maybe not like standardized tests. I mean, they're kind of fun, and if they're like kind of low stakes, you're doing like the New York Times little tests, that they have. I love those things. I feel like the GMAT and GRE might be a little bit different. So yeah.
We'll take this offline.
Where were you in my life 17 years ago whenever I was studying for the standardized test?
I was actually teaching GMAT then, Diego. I was actually teaching GMAT.
Oh, if I had known you then.
New York City.
I was in Kansas City, so a different city altogether.
Yes.
In so many ways.
Yeah, like talking about academics, yeah, I know that UT Austin is one of the best universities out there, and McCombs also has some of the best professors. So this is probably to Sanjeev and Maddie first. Who are some of your star professors, and what are they actually working on? What makes them so great?
I can kick us off and pass on to Maddie. So there's 2 courses in specific that I took last semester that were standouts for me. Both were analytical courses. I'm kind of a data nerd, and so that's kind of, Maddie will laugh because that's on brand for me at this point. But the first one is business analytics and decision modeling. It was a course that's offered by Professor Kumar Muthuraman, and he came to us from Stanford a few years back, and he really opened my eyes to like what decision modeling could look like. And he started the class by saying, like, every day we're just making a bunch of decisions from the time we wake up to the time we go to bed, and contextualize that from a business setting. So that really opened my eyes to exactly how to think about some of those aspects and tying it to business. So we talked a lot about random variables and how we could tie that to the insurance industry. And so the way he kind of story told in that process, which I think the biggest part that I've learned honestly from the MBA program so far is storytelling. The way he was able to navigate that course by highlighting some of those aspects, I think was super cool. So that's one course that I really loved. The second one that I wanted to highlight was a course called Time Series Forecasting that I took with Professor Tom Shively. And Deagle know this, like, Professor Shively's been here forever. He's like absolute rock star of our program. He also takes our core statistics class as well. And so to get his insight of how do you separate signal from the noise, which I think is a huge part of how people are looking at data nowadays, is just so much availability of data, but really separating what is the signal and what's the noise is so important. And he focused on that aspect of it rather than saying, hey, this is a tool, this is data, go ahead and play with it. He really taught us how to think about it and how to make some of those decisions using data moving forward. So those are 2 of the standout courses. I've also taken a whole bunch of different courses now this semester that I'm super excited by, but I'm only a couple of months in. So excited. And always, I think once you get into the elective part of the curriculum, it's just yours for the taking. There's classes that I'm in, which are like 5 or 6 people just because it's super technical, but there's also classes that, it's so hard to get into just because everyone wants to do it. So there's definitely a mix between that once you get into the elective section of the curriculum.
I'm ready to take that class myself. 15 all the noise.
Yeah.
Yeah, speaking of tech and data, has had me thinking about some of the industries that you guys are getting into. So, like, what are some of the main, industries that Texas McCombs grads, are getting into? Considering Austin, Texas being one of the biggest tech hubs in the Sun Belt, growing in the U.S. in general as well. Like, is it tech that most people are getting jobs in these days, or is it other industries?
Yeah, so I'll say that over the past, 3 to 5 years, most of our students, close to 80% of our students, have gone into either tech, consulting, or financial services. We did see kind of an uptick in tech a few years ago, and it surpassed consulting as the number one industry where our students go to. Most recently, with some of the challenges in the tech space, consulting has kind of come back quite a bit. But generally speaking, I think something that is really exciting about McCombs is that we have a really broad set of opportunities, having a large student population. So if you are a recruiter and we're key school for you, you have the advantage of coming to McCombs, and it can be your one-stop shop for undergraduate talent, graduate school talent, be it MS or MBA, and also PhD level talent on those research kind of initiatives that companies that deal with big data, for example, have. So we have the advantage of having a really broad set of corporate partners, and our students have been kind of exploring a lot of different avenues. Even in the tech space, traditionally it was product management, but students that go into tech over the past couple of years have started broadening the types of functional areas that they're going into. So project management, program management, supply chain, kind of in addition to product management. So I think that our career management team does a really great job at providing a kind of a framework of how you market yourself, and letting our students know how they can activate kind of in the channels where those opportunities are for them. And then the students, in full-time MBA students in 2-year MBA programs usually have that mindset of exploring, even if they have kind of a plan A and plan B. So it's really nice to be able to offer that to our students. But I feel like I talked a lot again, but I'll let Maddie and Sanjeev maybe talk a little bit about how kind of their kind of career piece has been.
Yeah, I'm happy to kick it off. So I don't fit that mold of tech or of consulting. I actually targeted more of consumer packaged good type of industry and more in the operations space specifically. So speaking to what Diego mentioned in terms of that framework provided by the career team, it's absolutely true. I know, was a little nervous or apprehensive because my undergraduate institution didn't necessarily provide the support that I was looking for from a career perspective. So I was very intentional in terms of choosing a school for an MBA program that had a really great and supportive career team, but also really created a space that was robust to be able to explore a lot of different opportunities and not necessarily be pigeonholed either by preconceived notions of, what you thought you wanted to do coming into the program, or on the flip side, if for some reason I wanted to pivot halfway through because my internship wasn't what I thought it would be, having the flexibility to do that as well. So it's been really great to work with them. They're here for us. There's a component of our core curriculum that is specific to career preparation in all aspects. And then from there, once you're beyond that core class, really it's, the world's your oyster in terms of having that conversation and continued connection with the career team and leveraging their resources outside of what you would do, normally through searching, on the interweb or whatever it might be, talking to alumni, things to that extent. So.
Sanjeev, did you want to?
Yeah, for me specifically, I was recruiting for consulting when I came in for the fall. And I think McCombs has a really good pipeline that exists with a lot of firms. And I think that relationship has really grown over the last couple of years as companies have increasingly made us a target school. So I remember when I was talking to people a couple of years ago, I think there were maybe 2 or 3 companies that specifically came to hire on campus, but that number has just exponentially grown in the last few years. And now I remember Diego was mentioning it to us. It's this year specifically, we've had so many different companies come on campus just because they realize the kind of talent that the program provides. And it's kind of not spoken about as much over the last couple of years, I feel like, maybe because of the other programs. But I think our consulting recruits have grown in number and in quality as well over the long period of time. So for me, it was a great opportunity. Like, I was very curious coming into the program how much I would have support from our career services. And so when I came in, they're just like, hey, all you have to do is, like, start going to the consulting club. They're going to kind of take you on this journey. The career service is going to be there to support us. And like, I really didn't have to do any thinking on my own and like reaching out myself, because the platform was already existing here at McCombs. And so for me, it was honestly following that prescribed curriculum that we had and like talking to the right people and making those connections. And to the point that we kind of made a little bit earlier, I think the Longhorn network is really strong. And as soon as someone sees that you went to UT, they're more than happy to kind of reach out and talk. And so that has been incredibly helpful as well when you're cold calling, reaching out to people that maybe are not in your immediate network. So for us, that's been a great opportunity. And like Dio mentioned, I think consulting has come back strongly over the last couple of years as well. So we're looking to obviously send a little bit more folks into that space.
Parallel to the career piece and the career center, I'm curious about, and you kind of touched on it, Sanjeev, like, what is the alumni network like, and what kind of support do you have at the school for that? Because you often hear that a school is as good as its alumni.
Pressure's on.
Yeah, I'm happy to kick that one off. I think, high level, it's fantastic. I know, personally speaking, had a lot of opportunity to engage with alumni in formal and informal ways, through reaching out through coffee chats, alumni that are coming back on campus, right? There's a reason people like being here. It's definitely true for the alumni. They want to come back. They want to engage. To what Sanjeev touched on, to every alumni that I've reached out to, whether it's pick their brain about their experience at McCombs, even as a prospective student, or really understand their career trajectory post MBA and how they kind of leverage the tools both while they were in the program and obviously after. All of them have been incredibly helpful and always open to talk, especially for local alumni too. They're always going above and beyond and have offered to even, meet in person and have, grab a coffee that way. So it's definitely was something that was on my radar prior to coming to the school. And it's definitely exceeded my expectations for sure.
Good to hear.
Yeah. And kind of slightly building on top of that, one of the things I noticed that we wasn't spoken about a lot when we kind of came into the program is how big the overall UT network is, not just the McCombs network, like not just people from the business school program. So as soon as someone sees you're from UT, I don't even think it matters beyond that point, because they're like, all right, I'm just gonna, make sure I take time to talk to these folks. And so I think that connection I've not really felt in any other institution that I've been a part of. And so for me, it's such an easy sell, because even over the summer, I had the opportunity to, like, we host a lot of these networking events during the summer as well to help alumni and current students interact and kind of talk about what's going on campus. I was actually in New York City this summer, and we had an event there, and there was like about 155 students, both undergrad, grad students, professors had flown out for that event. And so it was just an incredible experience to kind of like take your Longhorn network with you wherever you go. So I'm excited to be a part of that long term as well, and continue giving back to the community for sure.
I kind of just want to touch on the brand a little bit too. I often say that anytime I wear my Longhorn gear, be it a hat, be it a shirt, it's the most interactive piece of clothing that I own. I've been in Rio running on the beach, and people are like flashing the hook and horns as they drive, by with the car, and you're waiting to put your luggage through the security line at the airport, and people start talking to you because you have a Longhorn shirt on, and they had somebody in their life that touched at UT one way or another. So there are tons of ways for kind of the alumni to come back from educational opportunities online and in person, like homecoming. There's a business alumni conference that happens, and we do provide our alumni with career services for life. And again, a way to bring them back and keep them engaged. And what Maddie and Sanjeev mentioned, we see alumni on campus all the time, be it for orientation, be it for a company information session. Sometimes our professors bring alumni back to speak in cases during case discussions, So and being here in Austin, there is a large footprint of grads here in town that kind of come back and really want to give back to student organizations, come back to the tailgate. So tons and tons of ways to keep engaged as kind of you conclude your studies.
So
But
I
I'll
have a
speak.
follow-up question here. How do you interact with the larger UT community during the MBA program?
There are a couple ways. So one is our students' ability to take classes outside the business school is probably the biggest way. So graduate level classes that may work towards a concentration. So we have pre-identified some classes at the law school, at the School of Public Policy, at the School of Architecture that are kind of a good augment to concentrations that we already have. So our students going outside of Rolling Hall to take classes. Now, a lot of our electives are open to other graduate students, so they may come into Rolling Hall and sit on a class. The other way is we have a variety of dual degree programs that bring individuals of different backgrounds in. The one that comes to mind, it's the most recent dual degree, not the most recent, the second most recent dual degree program that we launched was the MD MBA. So we just have this amazing new medical school here in Austin, and out of a class of 50 DelMed students, between 10 and 15 usually come to pursue their MBA studies. So in every cohort, our current students are going to have somebody that's pursuing an MD MBA. So just that perspective. And our MD MBA students don't start at the MBA, so they're in their third year of their medical studies. So they bring in a perspective and knowledge that's a little bit different. So those are the things that come to mind. Plus, I mean, we have a variety of athletic events and student organizations that are campus wide, so you can kind of plug in to the community as much as little as you want. I think our students are plugged into a lot.
Yeah, I think to add to that too, I know, you're a UT student at large, right? So that means you have access to all the facilities and everything on campus. So even from more of an informal perspective, I know a lot of students, myself included, who use the gyms on campus. You get to interact with other UT students of all different, undergraduate, graduate, PhD level. Again, the sports events that Diego mentioned as well. I know football games, basketball games, volleyball games, ton of people in the program tend to populate those. So it's another informal opportunity. And then I know there are students too, even though we have an incredible building here, who love to, poke around on campus and check out different libraries and use those spaces to study or take some time to themselves as well. So great opportunity to be able to use the campus resources at large.
Sanji, you have anything else? You're good.
No, I think I was going to mention the libraries, but Maddie caught me. So I'm usually, if I have a few hours between classes, I'm always exploring libraries on campus. And I think it's very underspoken about when we're in this building, because our building's so great and we spend a lot of time here. But you can be siloed sometimes by the building because everyone keeps coming to us, even with recruiters. They're always on campus for us in the building. And so I've taken a stand for myself for this year to explore as much of campus as I can and kind of go other spaces and continue doing what I'm doing. So that's been a goal, and it's been great because the campus is great, especially after the summer's over. It's a great time to be outside. As we know, Austin gets pretty hot over the summer, but as soon as September, October hits, I'm outside the building for sure.
Now's the time. Guys, it's been great to get to know you guys. I mean, I've been to Austin once. I didn't make it to campus that time. Next time I'm in town, I'm definitely coming by. You've sold me. I love the tradition that you guys have. I love the family approach. I love the flexibility in the program, but also through the admissions process. I love the real tech savvy alumni you produce. And for people looking for more information, there's the website at McCombs.utexas.edu. And listen, MBA hopefuls, if you like this episode, don't forget to give us a nice thumbs up, and don't forget to subscribe to stay on top of more great tips from our guests and to get up close and personal with some of the best schools in the world in business. I'm Eric Lucrezia. Thank you so much for joining us. Bara, Krithika, thank you. Diego, Sanjeev, and Maddie. It's been great, and see you guys next time on MBA Waves. Bye-bye.